Good evening. I'm going to call the welcome. Ms. Pruitt, good to see you. Glad you're healthy again. Welcome. I'm going to call the regular scheduled March 19, 2024 Board of County Commissioners meeting to order. I've asked Commissioner Hill to lead us in the prayer and Commissioner White to lead us in the pledge. If you would, please stand.
Bow your heads, please. Lord, we come to you today thankful and humble. And Lord, we ask for your blessings. Lord, we ask you to watch over us as we make decisions of the county. Lord, we pray that you'll watch over our community, our nation, and this world, Lord. Lord, we pray that you'll lift up those, and too many to list by name, but you know the families and the people that are hurting here, right here in our backyard. Lord, we pray that you'll be with those individuals, help heal them and be with them and watch over them. Lord, we pray you'll forgive us of our sins. You'll help us of our ways and our days ahead of us, Lord. And most of all, Lord, we thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, and the price he paid so that we'd have the life that we are living. Lord, we pray all these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll start with item number 1, the approval of the minutes. There's the March 5th, 2024 minutes. I do have a short correction or maybe addition to that. Mr. Morrison, on page 370 at the bottom, we talked about the 184th Street Mr. Veach property. It says they're paid, I think we just need to add, and the county needs to pay for the moving of the gate and the fence to accommodate the right-of-way for the expansion and paving of that road.
That'll be fine.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So could the minutes reflect that, Mrs. Clerk? Anybody else have anything?
So moved with the corrections as per the chairman.
Thank you. I have a motion by Commissioner Perkins. I have a second by Commissioner Mobley. All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. We have 3 times specifics, but we'll move along to public concerns and comments. Anybody from the public wishing to speak? Yes, ma'am. Come forward. Name and address for the record, please, ma'am.
Charlene Moss, 5984 Wiggins Road, Live Oak, Florida.
Well,
I just wanted to say we don't thank you enough for all the good work you do. We put you through hell, I know. Having a job like what you do is not easy. It requires a lot of trying to help do the best for the public, and I know you agonize it over it so much, but I just wanted to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, because I think you're doing a fabulous job. It's wonderful to come to the meetings. It's educational, and I wouldn't begin to name the people because there are so many of them, but every one of you I think are doing excellent. I just wanted to say thank you. I don't speak very often, but being appreciative is always welcome, and I think sometimes we crave somebody to tell us that we're doing a good job. You always try. You work so hard to do the right job for all of your constituents, and I just wanted to say thank you because I think you are. No matter the outcome, the way you handle it, and you always have a sense of humor too, and I think it's just wonderful. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
awesome. Thank you
very
Thank
much.
you.
That's
Yes, ma'am.
that's a great way to start our meeting.
It is. That's awesome.
We don't hear that very often.
That's right.
My name is Keith Broders. I live at 201 Ranchera Street Northwest here in Live Oak. I want to make the announcement that on this coming Saturday at the Live Oak City Hall, I'm going to be conducting a class on the Constitution. It's a free class. I guarantee it'll be something like nothing you've ever seen before. I've got some great information. There'll be some quizzes and questions, and it'll just be a great opportunity to learn and refresh your understanding of the principles of liberty and the foundation of our country. Again, Saturday, City Hall, 2 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Broders. Thank you for putting that class on. Anyone from the public is welcome, correct, Mr. Broders?
Absolutely.
All right, good deal.
Particularly elected officials.
Welcome.
Love it.
Hey, my name is Alicia Mincy, and I'm 16567 76th Street. And I just want to resound the thank you for giving a voice to us. You know, we lost our home in September, 2 days after the storm, and have fought tooth and nail to have anybody listen. And I finally, just out of nothing short of desperation, called my county commissioner, who made my voice feel heard. And that is really, really incredible for the little people. So I just wanted to resound the thank you. We're making progress, and we still have a camper.
That's good.
So life is good.
That's good.
That was in District 5?
No, District 1, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you
I-
for coming. Thank you.
And I'm
That's
glad
all.
to hear the good news. And guys, you heard me mention it towards the end of the meeting, but it wasn't just me, it's the team. It really is. But thank you for reaching out. And we'd do that for anybody, anyone that's having a hard time. Any one of these guys up here would do that. Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Mincy, and I'm glad I've heard about your situation. I think this whole board has heard about your situation, and I'm glad that you reached out to Commissioner Hale, who made sure the right people knew about your situation and that you're getting the help that you need.
That's great.
That's
Great.
That's good
Thank you.
news.
Can't express our gratitude.
Yes.
It's awesome.
I don't know that we're responsible for it individually, but as he said, the team and making sure that it was followed through. So very glad you're getting what you need. We have 3 time specific. Is anybody else from the public wishing to speak before I move? Okay. We have 3 time specific items. Item number 7, we'll start with it. At 5:35 p.m. or soon thereafter, as the matter can be heard, hold a public hearing to consider special permit request number SP-24-03-01 by Vicky Clark, music proprietor, to be granted a special permit under Section 4.4.5B13 of the Suwannee County Land Development Regulations for 139 site RV parking campground. That's a lot. Mr. Ronald Meeks.
You swear affirm testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I'll do. I'll try to shorten up those agenda items next time. The application that the board has for their consideration is a special permit request number SP 24-03-01. It's an application by Vicky Music Proprietor. The application is to construct a 139 site RV park campground on property currently zoned agricultural 1. Property is located in Section 10, Township 3 South, Range 11 East. Access to the property is off of County Road 250. General vicinity is just outside, just east of Dowling Park. Size of the property is a 31.87 acre site. With the application request, you have a proposed layout with the site plan, which shows the access to the property and the proposed layout for the RV sites that would be there. If the application is approved, then they would move forward with our building permit process, which would be plumbing and electrical to add the water hookups, septic. It would be determined by the Environmental Health Department based on the number of sites they would have, like how many septic systems would have to be put in there and how much they could accommodate for. But then they would move to the point in time where they would be doing the permit. You have a proposed resolution written for approval in your agenda packet. The applicant is present tonight. If you have any questions of them, you can ask them. If you have any of me, I'll do my best to answer those. If not, then I would enter the file into the record at this time.
Admitted as one.
Thank you, Mr. Meeks. Any of you commissioners or staff have any questions for Mr. Meeks?
Not at the moment, no, sir.
Seeing none, we'll open the floor to public comment. Anybody from the public wishing to speak on item number 7? Seeing none, we will close public comment. Any board discussion? I'll just state that this is in my district. The public notice has been posted on the property now for how long?
12 days.
I haven't received the first phone call against or any concerns about it. So I would assume, that being the case, that most of the neighbors are in acceptance to that.
We have not received any notice at our office as well.
Okay. Any other discussion from the board?
None.
Or do I have a motion?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner White. And who was my second? A second by Commissioner Perkins. All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. I will close item number 7, public hearing. We will move to another time specific, item number 8. At 5:35 PM or soon thereafter, as the matter can be heard, hold the first of 2 public hearings regarding LDR 24-01, an application by the Board of County Commissioners to amend Section 4.20.1 of the Land Development Regulations by adding 14.11B11 relating to backup generators on tower construction and co-location of equipment. Mr. Ron Meeks.
Mr. Chairman, board members, this stems from conversation we had in the past on this commission at several of the board meetings following the hurricane that brought down a lot of, or most all of the cellular service within the county. Mr. Land, you brought that up at a previous meeting that you'd like to see some language in the LDRs added so that the applications that we get for cell phone tower communication construction would know what the county was going to require up front. Since that time, we've had a couple different special permits for essential service communication towers, and the commission has added this language as a condition on those resolutions that you've adopted. Because this is a text amendment to the LDRs, it would be adding text in there, so it does require 2 public hearings. Doesn't require any action of the board tonight. It's just the first of 2 public hearings. But what we've proposed is to add language in the LDRs that would require that all new tower construction have to include a generator for backup power for the facility. And it would also, the second part of that would include that any companies or carriers that would come in as a co-location would have to either connect to the existing generator to provide backup power or have to supply their own backup generator for backup power. With the hope that, should we experience a similar event, that we would not have the same outfall of loss of service in our community. So as I said, it doesn't require any action of the board tonight, just that we would offer opportunity for the public to speak and hold the first of 2 public hearings for the adoption of this. We'll bring this back before the commission for an adoption ordinance at a later date.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Meeks. I just want to personally thank you and staff for working on that. I know, post Idalia, there was a lot of maybe finger pointing on we had the generator, no we didn't, well why wasn't it working? So, I did suggest that we amend those LDRs so that the telecommunication industry would know what we wanted and we were clear about what we expected, and there was no if or when type on the generator backup like we wanted up front. So thank y'all for working on that. Any other questions from the board, Mr. Meeks?
That's good.
I would just enter the file into the record as well, just for.
Admitted as one.
I'll open the floor to public comment. Anybody from the public wishing to speak on this matter? Yes, sir.
If you could
Come to the podium, name and address for the record, please, sir.
Richard Snyder, 29th Road.
If you could raise your right hand, this is all. Do
Sorry.
you swear or affirm testimony you're about to give us the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do, yes. Just a question.
Yes, sir.
Is the verbiage going to say the minimum requirements for the generators? Like how many days they need to be functional? Because if you're out of power 7 or 14 days and this is a 3-day process, we got a problem again. So is there going to be language that says you need to be covering this type of time frame with these generators and the requirements, fuel supplies and all that stuff?
Well, I don't know.
Maybe you do.
I don't know that language is technically. I didn't see that language in there.
It's not something that we've proposed as far as the days of requirements. That potentially could be amended if the board wanted to go that, but it's at some point in time there's got to be a cutoff of, when you get too far into the weeds.
Yeah, and what I was going to say, that I didn't remember your name. I'm sorry, Mr. Richard. I know that sometimes we wanted to. The thought process, or at least my thought process, was to require the generator. As far as the time of use, there's going to be a lot of finger pointing with that too. It's like, hey, it's on diesel and we couldn't get diesel, and we couldn't get there to get, maybe the driveway was blocked and it ran for 3 days and then it was out of diesel. And there's going to be a lot of finger pointing there too. I think this is probably a good first step on requiring the generator to be there. Hopefully they would keep diesel in it, or propane or whatever they choose. But, I mean, I guess we can maybe potentially look at an addition or something later, but.
Mr. Chairman, if I will,
Yes, sir.
but I think what we learned during this last storm is those first 3 to 5 days were the most critical. People just trying to get answers, trying to get help, trying to find direction. So, you know, I think that's your most important days in my mind is those first couple of days, you know.
The other part of that is anything that we adopt on the language side also has to be enforceable. You know, so you know, what are we going to do? We have an event like that, and we say it's got to be 8 days, but they were only able to do 6 days. Are we going to send code enforcement out there to now cite these people because they didn't provide 8 days? You know what I mean? So it's
My thought process on that again was back to, you know, they have to have a special permit to put the tower up. So prior to them receiving that, changing this LDR to say, we're not even going to give you one if you don't have a generator in your plan, like you won't even get your special permit. I think what you're saying does have validity. I haven't thought about that in this particular one, really, because we had cell phone towers that went down, but they didn't even have a generator. So in my mind, step one is if we're going to keep continuation special permits to cell phone towers, they need to have a generator, or they're not getting a permit, number one. I agree with what you're saying, but there again, how are we going to enforce? Who's going to keep up with if it was?
Till the power comes back on.
How about you wait till it's your turn?
Mention it to him.
But I don't know how we enforce that, or maybe we can get to that on another one. I don't know, Robin's code enforcement. Ron.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many towers we've currently got in the county. I don't even know how we would begin to know, what generator has or does not have fuel.
Or malfunction.
Mr. Chairman.
What's that?
Commissioner Perkins.
Yes, sir.
That's my
I know
job.
we can go back and forth with this, but I think those companies that when they do install a generator, I'm sure that they will put an ample size tank in there to be able to last a few days. I think they just go in there and put a little small tank that's going to last a day. I think I'm sure they would be in their planning to last several days, but they don't know how long they'll be out. So I don't foresee it to be a big issue. But I think they will size the tank for several days.
I would agree. I think we could proceed with this one and then maybe circle back around if it becomes an issue at a later date.
I mean, this is the first of 2 public hearings. If the board wants the adoption to come back with language that includes specific days, we can certainly look at that. But, if we...
Well, why don't you just say, could you add in there with a minimum capacity to run 24 hours or 48 hours?
That's fine. We can certainly do that. If you wanted to extend it, we can do additional days. I honestly don't know what would be adequate. You know what I mean? Is you want to allow for
you're not
3
going to
days.
get, those generators need fuel every 3 days max, or you're going to be pushing it, and then after that, it's hit or miss on.
And Mr. Chairman, like you said, those first 3 days, I think the main reason to have that communication is obviously for 911 purposes. If someone's hurt, needs to reach, someone, and again, just getting direction as to where they can get water, food, help, things that happen, follow the days after. But from what I've seen, guys, and I may be wrong here, but obviously our power companies work endlessly and 24 hours a day to get the power restored, not only to cell phone towers, but to everyone. And again, I know some far outreaches were 7 to 14 days, but I don't know what that language should look like either, unless you guys just want to.
I know specifically because I rode a lot of the county after the hurricane.
Right.
And I know that there was a severe deficiency in cellular service, but the county was not entirely 100% down all the time. There were areas of the county that I was able to get cellular service, and I don't have an idea of what tower I was off of.
Right.
You know what I mean? Specifically out on County Road 132, I know where there are specific towers. I think that one of the towers that appeared to have service, because I noticed when I got in that area a little closer, was the tower around the catalyst site. And I don't know whether that might have some additional emergency communication that's co-located on that. But, you know, there's just, when you fall between two towers, you a lot of times don't know where you're at.
And that makes sense, because I believe the one on the other end of 132 by me had the generator running.
Right.
Because I could hear it. Yeah.
Most of the newer ones and any plans that we've seen as far as the construction diagrams that come in with the special permit application, most all of them have a detail of a Generac backup generator that is on there that they have provided. You know, so typically they don't just provide those generators for fun. If they're going to put them there, they do put an adequate fuel source there.
Sure.
But if moving forward, if it satisfies this board and what's being asked, then we could add additional days in there if we want to say 3 days, you know, to provide for at least, you know, 3 days backup generator. I don't have a problem with doing that. That language can still be modified for the adoption. This is the first of the 2 public hearings. It doesn't change the intent behind the original application.
Right.
I do so, then.
I mean, it's up to this board. I think 3 days is going to be a stretch, because then you're talking about capacity and, you know,
You want 24
the
hours?
initial, if the generator is slam full upon impact, there's no way that it'll make it 72 hours. I think, Commissioner White, you have some of these generators, I believe. There's no way, I don't think they'll run 3 days without having to refuel. And then I don't want to strap the burden on the telecommunications. You're setting them up to fail, because if logistically, as we saw with Adelia, there were going to be a lot of these cell phone towers wouldn't have access that first, on day 2, it runs out of diesel, but there's 42 trees laying across the driveway because it just ain't got there yet, you know, so.
24 hours?
48.
48.
48.
That's my thoughts on it.
48.
That's what I.
I'm
had
good
in
with
my
that.
mind. Okay.
It needs to be propane, not diesel.
Well, I don't want to get off into the weeds on regulating what fuel source they use, honestly. All right, thank you, Mr. Meeks. We're still under public comment. Mr. Hancock, would you like to speak now?
Just did.
All right.
You didn't hear me, I'm sorry.
I heard you.
Okay.
Mr. Klepper?
Moses Klepper, 14581 102nd Path, Live Oak.
To raise your right hand.
I think the gentleman come up with
Mr. Klepper?
excellent.
Got to be sworn in.
You swear affirm testimony you give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes. I believe, gentleman come up, I'm glad he come up with that. I didn't think of it either. I just made an assumption. I think most of us did. But my uncle, 87-year-old uncle, just put one in, a whole house generator. He put a 500-gallon propane tank in. All right, now that's the individual just concerned about keeping the refrigerator and heater on, you know. I'd assume I've got a 8,000 kilowatt. It uses about a gallon an hour of diesel. So I didn't research that, but I don't think 500 gallons would be demanding too much, and that'd give 20 days on a gallon an hour usage. All right, I lean more towards Mr. Hancock. I don't trust, like I've heard some of y'all say that y'all trust these companies to make sure there's adequate amount. That's just not how commercial enterprises usually work. And I'm taking this opportunity, since we're doing these LDRs and stuff, that daggum Tiger Lake tower became quite an issue, and it's proved what I said quite some time ago, that these towers are going to start coming in, guys, and they're going to start making our skyline, our areas not appealing to look at. Part of the reason people come here is because it's not a bad place to look at and drive around and see. All right, so we're knocking down my 300-foot, pine tree. I get that y'all don't want to do the camouflage, but they got the monopole. All right, it ain't a big eyesore. It looks like a monument. All right, y'all got the
Seen one
right
of those.
to keep them from dirtying up our community, but aesthetically. And I pled with y'all for a long time on this, and here it is again. And this is proven they're starting to fall in. So I plead with y'all right now. You got the opportunity. Y'all having to make these amendments. So, and I noticed some humor when some of the public has comments. Guys, you know, y'all need to accept we're gonna say stuff. You know, we got thoughts. We put efforts in this and we care. We care as much or more than y'all do. So please keep that in mind.
I would argue with that, Mr. Klepper. I don't know if you care more. I would care a whole lot, or I wouldn't be up here getting hammered every other Tuesday. Mr. Meeks, anything else?
Vast majority of the towers that the county has permitted in the past few years have always been monopole. I think that, you know, the Tiger Lake situation, just addressing that specifically, I believe I stated in my staff report when we had that application, that was probably the first guide tower that we probably had permitted in the county in probably more than 10 years. So for the majority of the towers that are permitted in the county, they are monopole towers. And they do blend in well with the skyline. When you kind of just scan, it doesn't stick out to you. It just kind of blends in.
But the reason for I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Commissioner White.
For the one at Tiger Lake, though, it's because of the height, right, on the guide wires.
All right. Any other board members? Anyone else from the public wishing to speak?
Mr. Chairman, point of
You-
clarification, please.
Okay.
48-hour minimum supply is what you want in them. Thank you.
Again?
Well, just rebutting his rebuttal, the monopoles could go up to 366 feet, so.
Anybody else from the public wishing to speak? This time I will close public comment. Any other board discussion? I see none. We don't need any action on this, so at this time I will close the public hearing. We have another time-specific agenda item number 9. At 5:30 p.m. or soon thereafter, as the matter can be heard, hold a public hearing to consider LDR 24-02, an application by Blackhawk Engineering, authorized agent for Swanson Development, to amend the official zoning atlas of the land development regulations by changing the zoning district from agricultural A2 to commercial highway interchange, CHI. Mr. Ron Meeks.
Mr. Chairman, board members, this application is a rezoning request to change the zoning classification of an approximate 49 acre parcel from agricultural 2 to commercial highway interchange. The general vicinity of this location sits just west of where the backs up to where the Zaxby's property is and the hotel properties there. It kind of has frontage along 129 North. It also has frontage on 68th Street. The front portion of the property is currently already zoned commercial intensive, so there's really no need to change that zoning classification. The rear portion of the property, which is immediately across the street from where the old Badcock facility was at, is zoned agricultural 2. So we have a developer who is looking to develop that whole site, which is about a 55.02 acre parcel with a variety of commercial as well as recreational usage that would be on that property. A few years ago, when the county had amended the future land use classification of the area around our commercial highway interchange, this area was labeled as an employment center. So the land use, the underlying land use that would be associated with the zoning request is consistent with what the zoning would be going to. So the request has been made. The property is located within the employment center land use classification. In the application, there's a couple different uses that are listed. As with anything, like we've said before, when you change the zoning classification of a property, you can't really change the zoning contingent upon a specific use. So really anything that falls within the highway interchange, if the property is ultimately zoned that way, would be permissible there. Usually your uses that are in your CHI district cater to the needs of the traveling public. So you think about commercial retail, lodging, restaurants, things like that. Those are the uses that are being there. But I could tell you I want to zone the property commercial highway interchange to build a restaurant, but it doesn't stop me from building a hotel. So you just kind of have to take that in consideration when you look at considering a rezoning request. This only requires one hearing, public hearing from the Board of County Commissioners. It did go before Planning and Zoning Board at their last month's meeting. Their recommendation to the board was for approval. So I did have a call from Commissioner Land today. He'd asked me about the sign on the property. Sign had been posted for the Planning and Zoning Board hearing. It was also posted for the County Commission hearing. Before lunch, I did go out to the property and take a look at the property, and the sign was laying face down. I don't know whether it got picked up and ran over or it got hit, but my metal rod was bent, so I straightened that out and set it back up. So just wanted to notate that for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Meeks. Any board members have any questions for Mr. Meeks?
No.
No? All right, seeing none, we'll open the floor to public comment. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on this particular agenda item? Seeing none, I will close public comment. Any board discussion, or do I have a motion to approve?
Approve.
Have a
Move.
motion to approve by Commissioner Perkins.
Second.
Have a second by, I'll go with Commissioner Hale. He beat you to the jump.
That's good.
All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. I will close this public hearing.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Meeks.
Thank you, Mr. Meeks.
You stood there for a good little while today. Where were we? On the consent agenda, I have items number 4 and 6 being pulled for discussion. So on the consent, we have items 2, 3, and 5. Any questions, comments, concerns?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion by Commissioner Hale, a second by Commissioner Perkins. All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0 on items 2, 3, and 5. I want to jump to item number 6 first, only because we have a guest here on that, and I understand she is missing her anniversary dinner to attend this, so I'd like to get her out of here as quickly as possible. Miss Diane Head, happy anniversary.
Director of the Career Source.
Commissioner Hale said he was going to get you a gift card for a steak dinner somewhere since.
There you go.
I cannot
He didn't say
accept that gift, but thank you.
I can't buy it either. So.
Miss Diane Head is, I don't know exactly what your title is, the boss at Career Source.
I'm the executive director of Career Source North Florida.
Executive
Yes.
Director. She's here to talk a little bit about what it is they do, what they've done, and what they're going to be doing. How about that?
Yeah, so I'll give you some background and then we'll talk about the agreement you have in front of you and answer any questions there. So we are, legally speaking, North Florida Workforce Development Board Incorporated. We've been incorporated in a 501c3 since 1999, at which time Suwannee County became a party to our area, our local workforce development area. I can give you a lot of acronyms that you probably don't want. So, but essentially what we do with job seekers, we have the Career Center. We're at the Live Oak Commons down 129. We have that Career Center where we serve job seekers looking for new work. Might be their first job. It might be a change of career. We have youth services, which are some services I want to talk about. We also provide tuition assistance and support services for individuals looking to train for new careers. We establish what is a targeted or in-demand occupation in this area. We work with guys like Jimmy and girls like Jimmy. Wait a minute. And we work with our local labor market, our local economic development partners to do that because we want to ensure that we're training for not just self-sustaining careers, but family-sustaining careers in this area. And if he's recruiting a company, we need to be sure that we're training for the right careers. We don't need to be training typewriter repairmen if that's not obviously what the labor market needs. So we work closely with him, and our training partners like River Oak have a very good relationship with Mary and Julie there, and to develop new programs or modify existing programs. We also work with employers to help them with recruiting. We do research, we do labor market analysis. And we also provide training grants for those employers if they want to train their current workers to upskill. So that's a little bit about what we do, how we do that. We have a consortium of commissioners, a commissioner from each of the counties that we serve. Currently, we serve Hamilton, Jefferson, Lafayette, Madison, Suwannee, and Taylor. So we have a 6-member consortium. Commissioner Perkins is on that consortium. And that consortium appoints our board members. They approve our budget. They approve our 4-year plan. It's a whole lot of work, isn't it?
Yes.
And they keep up with me. So there's some authority that they delegate to me as staff, and then there's other authority that they keep for themselves or delegate to the board of directors. So that's kind of how we work. The agreement you have in front of you was precipitated essentially by the REACH Act, which was, see if I get this right, believe it or not, it's an acronym. Reimagining Education and Career Help Act. It was passed in 2001. I think it was House Bill, I don't know now, 1504 or 1406, something like that, where they modified our state legislation. So the Florida workforce legislation is 445 to take a look at all the regions in the state. We have 24 workforce regions in the state. So at the end of that study last February, it was determined that Jefferson County needed to move over to Capital Region. And so that affects our agreement with having the 6-county consortium is now broken up. So Jefferson County is planning to move to Capital Region effective July 1st. And that leaves the 5 remaining counties, Hamilton, Lafayette, Madison, Suwannee, Taylor. I have to get used to saying it without without Jefferson County in there. It's just not normal for me yet. So, so that's why you have the agreement in front of you. That's kind of what kicked it off. The consortium has reviewed the agreement at probably their last 2 or 3 meetings. And it's essentially the same agreement you've had 25 years. But there are some clarifying statements in it. There are some minor shifts in it because of new legislation, new interpretation, new guidance from the state. One of those, obviously, other than the removal of Jefferson County, the consortium wanted to add an additional officer to the officers named in that agreement, because this agreement does actually describe how the consortium will conduct its own business, more or less its bylaws. So there's that change. There's some clarifying language about liability, just to be completely clear, which falls directly in line with the federal legislation that we work under, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. And I'm trying to think what else. Those were really the major changes. Everything else is just clarifying what the powers of the consortium are and what it does. So, and I know that there were questions that I'm happy to answer, and I'm happy to answer anytime. You guys, anybody can call me anytime. The door's open.
Thank you. Anyone from the board have any questions for Ms. Head?
Do not.
Ms. Head, yes, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Head, you have the duration of agreement before you?
I have portions of it, but yes.
On item
Yes.
21. Yeah. Would you kind of go over that, please, ma'am? There was some thing there that was some questions and concerns about it. that if we pulled out, then we would still be held for liability for the pay.
Okay, so we'll talk about the liability for financial obligation, financial support. Essentially, the county has the funds we receive are direct grants mandated grants from the federal government that filter through the state. The county does not use its funds to operate us. You just direct us. But there is, inside of WIOA, again, acronym, sorry, Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, it does say that the chief elected officials, who are you guys in all the counties, are obligated. Let me find the right language, because I did cut that out. You are liable for any misuse of the grant funds to the allocated local area. That's nothing I can change, nothing I can do. That's federal legislation. I will do my best that I never have to be up here asking you for money. I have those internal controls in place. We have a really robust quality assurance program. We are compliant. And so if you see me up here, I don't want you to see me up here.
How about that?
Asking for money, right? So that's the financial obligation piece. The duration is question, essentially that just says that if one county says, we don't want to be a part of this agreement anymore, they don't have to be. There is a longer process to that. It is almost literally an act of Congress to make that change. There has to be several steps of approval to change regional boundaries, things like that, similar to what we've just gone through removing Jefferson. But the agreement itself is still intact for the remaining regions, whether it's 2 or 3 remaining counties. Does that make sense?
Yes,
for
ma'am.
you?
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Miss Diane.
Yes,
Good?
yes.
Anyone else have any questions?
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
I'll just, Mr. Chairman, I'll just say, I see her, Jimmy and I attend several meetings together. She's always there. I know you're a busy person, so I do appreciate you coming over this evening and
No
explaining
problem
this
at
to
all.
us.
Apparently, she's seen a side of Jimmy we hadn't seen.
I heard that too.
I will
heard
say
that
it is great partners in having relationships within the county with you guys and with folks like Mary and Jimmy and everyone else in the county. The nonprofits that we work with within the county are also vitally important to the work we do, making sure that our customers have those wraparound services, because we can't do everything. We have great relationship with the school district. Actually, right now we're recruiting for our summer youth program. If you know any kids, whether they're in school or out of school, just send them to us and let us figure out how to serve them this summer. We want to do that. So I should have brought a flyer. I'll email it to Mandy and she could email it out to you guys. So
Thank you for everything you do for our community. We
Yeah.
appreciate you.
Thank you, Ms. Head.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
If there's no other questions, do I have a motion? Have a motion by Commissioner Mobley, second by Commissioner Perkins. All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 4 was pulled for discussion. Approval to extend agreement number 2021-53 with Dewberry Engineers for engineering services. I believe that's Mr. Morrison.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, the reason it couldn't just stay on the consent agenda is I'm going to expect that some type of paperwork will be necessary. The agreement contemplates a renewal. We just need the board to, so we don't have to come up again, to designate Mr. Scott with the authority to execute that renewal as contemplated by the agreement.
Fair enough. And that's just for the particular project? The
Yes.
CEI services for the Greenway?
It's continual.
Or the annual?
Right.
Okay.
Right. And if you look at paragraph 1, it says there's 2 different annual renewals, so we're just going to use our first one. But just Mr.
Fair
Scott
enough.
needs the authority to sign.
Understood. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Morrison?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, y'all know what I need.
So moved.
Thank you. I have a motion by Commissioner Perkins, a second by Commissioner White. All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Moving along, constitutional officer items. Any constitutional officers here wishing to speak? Seeing none, we will move to Ms. Head. If you would like to leave, happy anniversary. You will not. You will not offend us. Staff items. Any staff? Mr. Meeks again.
Why not, right? Missed my opportunity. Just to kind of give a little pat on the back to one of our staff members is Robin Crespo. A lot of you know Robin. He's our code enforcement officer. Just the hard work that he's been putting in to a specific issue that has faced this county and is something we're trying to get rid of. He had a situation in which he had received a complaint actually from a coordinating department dealing with illegal dumping of raw sewage. And I think that we all immediately understand the severity that poses a problem to Suwannee County, because all of Suwannee County is a high aquifer recharge area. So we want to protect our water the best we can. Mr. Crespo had received this complaint, and he started to conduct his investigation, and that involved multiple agencies, which is another pat on everyone else's back with the inner working and the coordination that we have. It included the Suwannee, Columbia, and Alachua County Health Departments. Mr. Crespo also had coordination with the Department of Environmental Protection, the county attorney, everyone being instrumental in being able to move this case forward. Mr. Crespo did properly tag the property with the notice of violation, and because of its severity was given 5 days to abate and clean up the property. That could not be met, so there was an emergency code enforcement hearing before our magistrate, Mr. Schutte, called, and that, I believe that hearing was yesterday or the day before. It was yesterday. So what he had pursued was that there were 4 contiguous sites that we had illegal dumping of raw sewage. There was a found to be in violation each site for a $5,000 violation per site, with an additional $5,000 added to that for well monitoring program through the Suwannee County Health Department, and that would be for a quarter mile surrounding the site for a period of 2 years with quarterly reporting on that. And then Mr. Schutte also held jurisdiction on this, so if there is a positive that pops up with a well testing, and there's a problem, then there's a process to try to remedy that, and there will be additional fines moving forward to that. I don't know that we've ever had a situation in Suwannee County where we've had a $25,000 fine. So proud of the work that he's done behind that. But that being said, that's not what we want to do to people. We don't want to get there. We want people to understand that that is a real problem in our community. And we want people to take pride in our community, and we want to protect all of our assets and our resources. So knowing that that is out there and that is a possible course of action that someone else could at some point in time face, we want it to be a deterrent. We hated that it got to this point, but it was a serious issue. A lot of the tools that Mr. Crespo has incorporated in his job, one of those being a body cam, which actually was very instrumental in proving this guilt in this situation, because the gentleman involved freely admitted that on camera of what he had done. So just kind of a pat on his back, and just kind of a thing to bring before the commission, that a lot of these things and a lot of these regulations that we've been trying to implement for the past few years to try to deal with these nitrates and illegal dumping and things like that, that it is moving forward. And I know that the county attorney has some things that he's working on, as well as this case. It doesn't mean that this case, that's the end of it. You know what I mean? So this could go even further in the situation. So it was just the severity behind it was something that we needed to act on immediately. And I'm just proud of all the coordination between all of the agencies and our local office and how helpful everyone had been. Mr. Crespo, is there anything that I've left out? I think I've pretty well hit it right on the head. But just wanted to kind of give you guys an update on that, and just kind of a win on our side that we felt really good about.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, just to clarify something for the public, this isn't somebody who just has an RV dumping their toilet. This was somebody who was operating a commercial septic business, emptying your septic tank, and then going onto his property, and instead of going to where he's supposed to in Jacksonville to filter it out, he was literally just unleashing his truck and all of the hundreds of gallons of waste in it directly into
Onto the dirt.
right onto his property, which, you know, there's groundwater right there.
Right.
So it's different than the normal situation.
Yeah. Appreciate it, guys.
Mr. Crespo, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you do. Not everybody likes a code enforcement officer, but in situations like this, I think we all love a code enforcement officer. So we appreciate you. Good job.
Absolutely.
Anyone have any questions or comments?
And he's just very humble. I'd actually seen him at the fair last night, and we briefly spoke about this, and just me trying to thank him, he don't even want to be thanked for it. So he's very humble, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Crespo.
Yes, sir.
Where were we? Staff items. Any other staff wishing to speak tonight? No. Commissioner items. Any commissioners have any items? None. County attorney. Any county attorney items, Mr. Morrison?
Yes.
I think you have one.
Mr. Chairman, I got two, actually.
Two, okay.
If you look in front of you, I've handed out a proposed agreement for services. During the first meeting of the month, the commission approved the contract with O'Neill Roofing Company to redo part of the roof over at the jail. As requested by Mr. Durham, the board gave its approval and for the total amount that it was going to be, and we're piggybacking off of the contract that O'Neill Roofing has with the school district. However, we needed to reduce that to a contract in writing between the board and O'Neill Roofing, because again, their contract is with the school board, so this contract simply does what the board had already approved. So I just needed to bring that in front of the board and ask you to sign it, Mr. Chairman, with the board's approval.
So, Mr. Morrison, you've read this. You're good with it?
I drafted it, so, yep.
Okay. Perfect. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Morrison in regards to this roof project at the jail? We're piggybacking off of O'Neill's contract that is with it's already pre-established with the school board.
Motion to approve.
Perfect. You knew what I was waiting on.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner White, a second by Commissioner Perkins. All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Mr. Morrison, you have another item?
Yes, sir. To go off a little bit of what Mr. Meeks was speaking about is the, as he pointed out, I've been talking with Mr. Crespo quite a bit lately regarding code enforcement, because there's a large scale, I'll call it issue with, not the commercial dumping like was the situation that Mr. Meeks was speaking about, but of individuals, you know, in an RV or a septic just not going about it appropriately and just dumping their waste into right onto the ground, and with the high aquifer that presents a problem in the county. In going over the enforcement mechanisms that the county has with people who are, I'm going to use the phrase illegally dumping so everybody understands what I'm talking about though when I use that phrase. For smaller use cases, such as the individual in an RV or someone who puts their RV on their property, we don't need to pull out the $25,000 fine and go after you under Florida statutes, because that's a little bit of overkill. I called around to some of my counterparts in other counties and ended up speaking to the county attorney over in Columbia County. And over in Columbia County, they passed an ordinance directly addressing this situation for the exact same use cases we have of individuals who are further out in the county doing things like this. And what it did is it made it create very specific ordinance dealing with exactly this issue, authorized code enforcement to enforce that ordinance, and authorized code enforcement to write a ticket or a fine up to $500 per occurrence. And one of the things I do want to point out is you have to authorize them to have that power, because if there's no stick, then it doesn't matter. However, the intent or the use of it would, at least as it's been done in Columbia County, is essentially their code enforcement officer would go out, talk to them, show them the regulations, show them that they're in violation, tell them, that there's a penalty associated with this, and then say, listen, I'm going to come back in a week. Let's have this cleaned up, and that'll solve the issue. And in speaking with Mr. Foreman, again, who's the county attorney over in Columbia County, he said there's been a 99.9% decrease in the complaints after this, and to date they've not written a single ticket. It's simply by empowering the code enforcement with the appropriate regulation, where there's a little bit of stick to it, so that way they can say, if you don't, there's a there. It authorizes them to do it. So I have no pride in authorship. If the board wanted me to move forward with it, I would just be stealing the Columbia County regulation. I've spoken with Mr. Crespo. That would be the intent, to use it in the exact same way here. Use it as a mechanism to warn people and ask them to stop. But I wanted to float that by the board before I started getting to work on an ordinance, because there's a little bit of work that goes into that, and public notice, that sort of thing. So I just wanted to float it by you guys before I did that.
I think we can give you consensus, Hale.
Absolutely.
We got Hale and White good.
Yes,
You got consensus 5-0.
Yes, sir.
So thank.
I'll get that on. I'll get working on it. It'll be on a future agenda.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Morrison. Consultant items. I see several of those here. Mr. Pittman, you want to go first?
Yes, sir.
Welcome, sir.
Brian Pittman, Pittman Engineering. Good evening. I just wanted to come up very briefly. We got some good news. It was kind of last minute, so it couldn't make the agenda. As far as County Road 49 goes, which is our main project we have with you all, to my understanding, we are at the final set of plans. We are this close to going to DOT. We expect to get those to DOT by the end of the week. Hopefully, pending a pretty quick review by them, we should have that back, ready to go out for advertisement. In the same token, we heard, I believe it was this morning, potentially yesterday morning, from Suwannee River, that essentially it's on someone's desk for final approval. So the ERP permit should be good to go as well. So my estimation is next 30, 45 days, we should be out to advertisement. Well, I shouldn't say that. Mr. Scott, assuming he approves or feels we're in the same category, we should be out to bid for that soon and get that project going pretty quick.
Awesome. Good news.
Great, thank you.
We like that. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Pittman?
No, sir.
No.
Any chance they're going to do it all at one time?
Well, I do believe there was additional funding put in there to try and make that happen. Is that correct, Mr. Scott?
I'm not sure we still can get it all, but we're going to try our best.
Okay. We're doing our best. We kind of have contingency measures on our end that we've come up with to say, here's everything, here's a little less, is my understanding. And from what we've seen on other projects, DOT is really working hard to come up with that purse to try and give everybody the money they need to get it done exactly the way we want it, to where everything's done. But so we're hoping for that. I'll get back to you all whenever we find that final answer out, but that's the hope.
So there is a discussion about it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. It's great.
Where it starts. Good deal. Thank you, Mr. Pittman. We
sir.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
Any other consultants wishing to speak tonight? Okay. We will move along to general business. We only have one item on the agenda for general business, and that is item number 10, discussion with possible board action, the North Florida Water Utilities Authority interlocal agreement. County Administrator Greg Scott.
As y'all are aware, we've discussed this a few times, but what we've been trying to do is meet regularly with Columbia, Hamilton, and we started with Baker also counties to look at our utilities and how can we better save the local tax dollars, how can we join together and make things work better. So that's all having to have the same equipment, the same staffing, how can we share things back and forth. There's been some consultants that come in that have kind of steered us in how this worked other places successfully. We're at the infant stages of the process. Long term, the idea is to let utility money go back into the utility, keep that healthy, so we can continue to do more utilities from there on and keep everything repaired properly. Historically, a lot of communities will take from their utilities as a cash source, and then you don't have money to fix your utilities. So the idea is to keep the utility strong. Suwannee County or Columbia or others cannot do this by themselves unless you keep dumping local dollars into the utility. So the idea is to try to conserve dollars and share resources among different counties and just make it more beneficial for the citizens. Any questions that you've got? I know the chairman's, former chairman has been at all the meetings also and provided great input also, but I don't want to speak for Mr. White, but he's been a big part of this process also.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Commissioner White, you want to elaborate?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just like I've been telling you, it's going to start out as a pretty much just a maintenance deal to start with. I mean, none of us really know. We're feeling our way through it. It also, other than what Mr. Scott brought up, it also brings a benefit to our counties and other counties as a regional utility to ask for more grant dollars and be awarded those grant dollars based on a regional basis. We can ask independently and we can ask as a regional utility. So the thinking going forward is hopefully more grant money to do our utilities with. Also, as it becomes a regional utility, it supports itself at some point. It won't right now. Columbia County is losing money on their utilities. We're losing money on our utilities. You have to have enough customer base to support those utilities, but you have to have the utilities first to get that. So it's an investment by the county to put those utilities in, and at some point it become a self-sustaining venture that no longer has to come out of our general revenue. It supports itself. It has its own board, which is constituted of 2 commissioners from each county on that board to have a say-so in it. So to my way of thinking, it's like a regional landfill. You know, it's the way I see pretty much, or want to see all of it go, as a regional jail, a regional landfill, a regional utility. It all just makes sense in my mind. So I have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them if I can, but that's kind of the gist of it.
Any board members have any questions for Mr. Scott or Commissioner White? I don't have any questions. I would agree with your way of thinking. I think for rural counties, combining their resources to build that infrastructure, you're going to get a lot further, a lot faster, and then it becomes its own, working, whatever you want to, consortium, whatever it's called. Consortium. Yeah. That cash flows itself and specializes in that kind of stuff. But anybody from the public got any questions, comments? Mr. Hancock, welcome.
You might want to hold that thought.
No, I always welcome comments, good or bad, as long as they're respectful.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bowe, do you mind if I start off?
Go ahead.
Mr. Bowe had asked me, we had some conversation about this, and obviously we can't talk about it until we get to the board meeting, but I think you kind of wrapped it up there, though, Commissioner White, but he may have some other questions. Maybe you can elaborate on it, but it's like you said, it's like having a collection site or any kind of business, a jail or whatever, that we all share in those expenses of whatever that product is. And I think some of Mr. Bowe's concern was, and don't let me speak for you, he said, please, if I'm wrong, is who would own it? Who would own that pipe? Who would own that piece of equipment? Who would own that, this or that? I'm assuming we would all equally be partners in that and have a right to the use of all of it at any given time. Is that right?
Mr. Attorney, I'm going to refer to you on that.
Yeah, no, so what you're creating, so under Chapter 120, whatever it is, which recognizes the creation of interlocal agreements amongst the counties or counties and municipalities, you're creating its own separate entity. So the easy way to think about it is the counties are creating a company that's not correct, but it works. They're creating a company which is going to own and operate these utilities, and so it's the company that owns it. And so in the event of, let's say, a dissolution of the company, same as you would have shareholders, you would need to dissolve the assets amongst, you would do the same. And I don't need to put the cart before the horse or say what would happen in that situation in the future, but I would put money on the stuff in Suwannee County is going to go to Suwannee County, stuff in Columbia County is going to go to Columbia County, and vice versa. But that's how it, that's what this does.
Thank you, Mr. Morrison. Mr. Hancock?
Along that same lines on page 6, it just says ownership and operation, says upon further authorization and approval of each affected county and the approval of the board in this case is the North Florida Water Utility Authority, the board shall own and operate the combined water, wastewater, and flame water system of the counties in accordance with such rules and policies as it may adopt with the assistance of the administrator. And I'll get to that administrator in a minute. But they own it.
Sir,
They own it. Y'all give it up.
we own it.
No, we don't. You create this authority. We are creating another governmental entity. Just like the SVTA, which this document is based off of. I'm tired of big government. I'm tired of it getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And y'all talk about, Greg mentioned saving money. How are we going to save money?
We don't have to buy a vacuum truck for every community. We can share one. We don't have to have the same everybody doesn't have to have an operator paid by their county. We can share one. It's sharing resources.
Now,
And can I say something, Mr. Crowe? I don't think you're going to create a bigger government entity. I think you're going to create a smaller government entity because each county is now trying to run their own utilities. We don't have the staff or experience, in my mind, to be running a utility at this point. I mean, we could get there for sure, but I'm thinking as we come together to run these utilities, just like Mr. Scott said, you hire one contractor. Well, if we hire one contractor just to do Suwannee County's utilities, well, if he only comes 4 hours or 6 hours, because we're small right now, and then same thing in Columbia County, well, we're each paying that same contractor to do just a little bit of work, but by law we have to do it. Well, now we come together, we hire one contractor for the same amount of money, but we're covering 2 counties now instead of 1. So yeah, in my mind, it cuts it in half.
Or 3, yeah.
3 counties.
Yeah, 3 possibly.
I don't really think that's going to happen. Number one, and I can pick on Greg, or not pick on him, he's been in government for 34 years. You ever seen government get smaller? Honestly, in your 34 years, has Parks and Recreation shrunk any?
Most businesses do the same thing. No, sir. Government gets larger because we got more responsibilities and more requests from citizens.
Yeah, but a business.
They get larger too.
Yeah, okay, grant you that. I don't have to do business with them. I don't have a choice with the county. You're using county tax dollars. You're already subsidizing the utilities now. I don't know how many clients you have or customers at the Catalyst site. At 175 and 136, you got 4. But it's not yet developed. And I realize that. It's going to grow. You got to have the infrastructure to get the growth. Okay? I don't think this contract or this regional utility is the way to go.
What's your suggestion?
This just came up. I didn't know. As you would report at going to these meetings and with Greg, y'all talking about a regional utility, you're going to save money, you're going to do these things. But there was no specifics till this came out. It's structured along the same lines as Suwannee Valley Transit Authority. Their current budget is $3.2 million.
A lot of that's grants, so keep in mind. A lot of that's not everyday operating, but that's
their budget.
That's a lot of grants, yes.
I don't know that this utility is going to, regional utility is going to get all those grants. We've already spent in Suwannee County alone and let me get to the right sheet, $16 million in grants to build what we currently have, and that includes the not yet built Catalyst sewer system or site. Okay? But we bring in revenues right now, and like I say, the clients aren't there yet, the customers. But we bring in from the customers $66,000. Okay? In grants, between the Catalyst site and the others, in just 2024, there's budgeted from those grants budgeted from those $189,583. And like I say, the $16 million in grants is great, but we still support this to the tune from the general fund of approximately $190,000 a year right now, because the clients aren't there, and I realize that. I don't think the consortium or this board's going to do it. The way this thing is written, and I don't know whether Mr. Morrison put this together or not. Have you read it?
Several times.
This is Suwannee Valley Transit Authority agreement they've taken and used a lot of the same verbiage, and some of it they struck out and added verbiage. It's not identical, but it's, I would say it's at least 60% of the same.
Yeah, it's like a tri-county agreement. I mean, that's basically what it is. But I mean, that, again, can't really compare the businesses because there's just two different ways of income there.
I mean, what's your complaint about it, Mr. Hancock?
I don't think we need another government agency.
But
and I'm reading this thing and it scares me. You got an administrator that, if Don Hale and Franklin White are on that board, the Water Authority Utility Board, they can only go to the administrator and talk to him, period. That's it. You can't talk to anybody else over there, the way it's written. Your administrator controls everything.
Does our administrator control everything here?
No, he doesn't.
Then why would that one control everything there with a board?
We just, prior to Greg, who did we have? And how was it then?
But I think what he's saying is it's not just us two members. There's two more members from each other county on there.
That's not, I'm just saying in general, any of the 6 of you that would be there, right, is what I'm saying. And I can flip to it and read it real quick.
I guess to better understand what Mr. Bowe's trying to, I understand he doesn't want another form of government, but I mean, maybe if we could see on paper, and maybe you guys can put this together through that board, what it would cost if each one of us sat there and ran our own utilities versus joining together, because I can just imagine that number would be astronomical, I would assume.
Well,
I don't know that, but
I believe that you don't. I think you're missing something, Mr. Bowe. I believe in business, it ain't just about how much you're selling; it's about controlling your input cost. And if you can control your costs, that's just as important as how much you're selling. Right now, we're not selling much, but our cost, as you said, is $190,000 injected by the general. If we can share that cost and get that.
You won't share that cost. That cost is going to stay with you, even if the utility has it.
I'd ask you, how do you know that?
Because they're going to own everything.
Right.
They get everything. But in here, it says if there's anything, and I'd have to find the exact verbiage in here, if they ask for more money, they're going to get it.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's no different
than
if you and I start a business together, Mr. Hancock, and somebody's got to put money in it to start it, right? But as that business grows, you and I don't have to keep putting money in it. Every year, hopefully, if it's a good business, it's going to grow. And sooner or later, me and you ain't got to put money in it anymore. Sooner or later, we're taking money from it. And I think that to Mr. Scott's point, that's what a lot of rural communities across the country have done, is use their utility to offset their lack of revenue in other areas, so they're not reinvesting it into their utility. So it's a consistent take, whereas this one, the revenue would go back to them. So when we need to do an extension at the catalyst site and put in $2 million, we don't have to wait 5 years for a grant. There's money there because we've watched our cost, we've shared our resources, and the revenue's there. And you're making 2 grant applications. One is a regional, and then you could apply for the grant individually as Suwannee County individually as well. I mean, I respectfully would have to disagree with you on the way you're looking at it, honestly.
Well, that's fine. We can agree to disagree.
Yes, sir.
I don't like it. I can tell you that. I don't like all the things in here, and I'm trying to find the where it just talks about just the administrator. Damn it. Except for purposes of an inquiry, members of the board shall deal with the affairs of the North Florida Water Utility Authority solely through the administrator, and neither the board nor any member thereof shall publicly or privately give orders to any subordinate of the administrator.
Well, that's in the administrator style of government, and I believe...
Well, that's fine, if that's what y'all want to do.
I would have to ask the county attorney,
That's
but I
fine.
believe the Sunshine Law would apply here as well.
Correct. This is creating, Mr. Hancock is correct. It's creating a new governmental entity.
Right. That the Sunshine Law would apply, so the commissioners or the board members couldn't speak to each other. They would have to adopt some type of form of administration, which is the administrator role, as this is written. So they would communicate with the administrator, who would do with it what he may.
Correct. And also, I would point out, just Mr. Hancock, I understand well, wait a minute, you're just copying the SVTA agreement. It's just a stamp, in the same way if you incorporate, I'm just letting you know why this is a good base for it. If you ever go onto the sunbiz.org website and register a company, it's real simple. Everybody's got the exact same company, articles of incorporation, yet those businesses do vastly different things. That's the same idea here. It's a very simple blueprint.
It's like a DOT time.
And it allows them to take off where the board wants to take them.
But you're talking about saving money. Have we tried? I mean, I know that we had to have, it started at the catalyst site at that water treatment plant. You had to hire somebody to test the water. I don't know, what is it, monthly or quarterly basis?
Daily.
Daily now? Okay.
Always been daily.
Okay. How much, you wouldn't know, you weren't the administrator, but he was fairly inexpensive to start with. And then we changed and got somebody else. But I know there's been 2 or 3 different people or groups in there, companies doing it. What do we currently pay for that? And what else do we have that we have to pay people? And did anybody ever try to see what a contractor would charge to do all these things? If we were paying for it.
That's what we do now. If we didn't have, everybody have a different contractor, we could have one contractor and reduce the cost.
So all 3 counties are going to pay less money?
It's the idea.
And what's the upfront cost going to be?
Haven't got that far yet.
Buying a pig in the poke now.
Well, no, sir, we got to have the interlocal agreement, or we're pulling all this stuff together, but right now it's not going to be, it's just a maintenance and upkeep. That's what we're doing now. That's what we're trying to get to. For later on, it may get more to where it's all incorporated. You got 1 meter reader. You know, I don't know all the scenarios, Mr. Bowe. If I didn't believe it wouldn't save us money, I promise you I wouldn't have spent as much time doing it as I have.
Oh, you spent some time. I just, the information, when you would give a report, you're still meeting, working through things. That's it. More to come.
And that's still
it.
what we're doing.
I mean, that's what you could say.
And it is. And I've tried to be upfront and honest with you about how it is. And I just see it as a plus for this county. I see it reducing cost. Now up front, probably not. We're probably going to have to put some money in. It's just, that's the way it is. Just like Commissioner Land said that, you start a business, you got to put some money in it. It's going to take some investment to get there. But I truly feel we're going to grow a lot quicker than we think. I don't think we have the staff, and I'm not quite sure how much staff we're going to have to hire to do it if we keep it in-house. So to my way of thinking, if you've got this utility, this regional utility, and they're hiring the people and they're covering 3 counties instead of us hiring the people to cover just 1 county. So why wouldn't you think that would save any money?
Well, go back to Suwannee Valley Transit Authority. None of y'all were on the board at the time. It came kind of a surprise. It was discussed at about 2 or 3 meetings, county commission meetings. And they had the executive director and her assistant and others here testifying. But they were in dire financial straits. $2 million in the hole. I don't know what their budget was at that time, total budget. But they were $2 million in the hole. And this was this original administrator retired, I think. And then they hired someone from DOT with experience to come in. Anyway, and they finally, because of other, I'll just say misfeasance, malfeasance, whatever, that went on, the board fired them. And at that time, Commissioner Sessions volunteered his time to go over and see if he could get it straight, get some answers, which he did. And ultimately, he became the director. The board at that time hired him. And inside of 2 years, he got him back in the black. He replaced a whole bunch of equipment, and he did this with a lot of grant monies and different things. But that's the type of person he is, the way he worked. But how did it get there? Because that SVTA board had no clue, as a board, that they had issues. But yet it was staffed with commissioners from the 5 counties.
No, you got Suwannee, Hamilton, and Columbia. Just
Okay,
the 3. Just the 3. Yes,
I
sir.
thought Lafayette was
Yep,
in
yep.
there. No, okay.
I mean, we service them, but they don't have anyone on there.
Okay, 3 counties.
Yep.
Same as these 3 then. Now, how did that happen? Did those board members fail
Mr.
on doing
Bo,
their job?
I can't answer that. I can't answer
I know
that.
you weren't on the
And-
board at the time.
And
I was here.
right, and that, I mean, all I can say to that is how that happened, I don't know, but that's on them.
They don't know
You
how it happened either.
That's on them. I don't know. I can't answer that. I can't go back and give you an answer on what happened on something that I wasn't
How are you
part
going
of.
to stop it from happening again?
Hopefully you have board members to pay attention.
You have board members pay attention. I would say, Mr. Bowe, you have someone like Mr. Sessions that just exited that position, that left that board and that business with $1 million+ and he worked it the way it's supposed to be, and hopefully whoever is on this board and whoever's the administrator would do the same and look out for the people of these 3 counties.
I would hope you would.
Right.
Well, and
I mean, that's the ultimate.
Any one county may withdraw from this agreement
Yep.
at any time by giving
Right.
180 days written notice to the board.
Yep, I understand that.
You're right, it could happen, but you just, obviously that
It
is.
could happen here, Mr. Bowe. It could happen.
No, it shouldn't.
It shouldn't, but it could.
If you didn't have it, it wouldn't happen.
How do you know? I mean, how do you know it
No,
couldn't
it
just
wouldn't
happen
happen
within this
because-
county?
All right, guys.
You'd have a different utility. But anyway, I'm not for this.
Okay,
Period.
well,
We
that's
agree
fine.
to disagree, and I don't have a problem with that.
I'm
Walk out of
good.
here, that's fine and dandy. But if it screws up, I'm gonna blow it right back in your face.
I'm good with that too.
Just get
I'm not
prepared.
scared of it.
I
I'm
understand.
gonna dog this one.
Thank you, Mr. Bowe.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
At least you heard me.
Yes, sir. Every
We do,
time.
and Mr. Bowe, and we don't take it lightly. I know we really don't, and I understand your concern. I know you're actually just looking out for everyone here. I get that, and I think everyone here does.
And I'm not saying I couldn't be wrong. I'm not.
You were wrong with Gators.
Well, almost. I was almost right, but
You missed Adam.
I don't know.
I know.
I don't have a crystal ball, Mr. Bowe.
None
All
of
I
us
know
do.
is, as a business owner, how I operate and what I do on a daily basis, I just think more cooperation is cheaper. It works in my business. It works in a lot of other businesses. It'll work in this. provided what's done is right.
Well, as Ronald Reagan says, if somebody knocks on your door and says they're from the government to help you, hold on.
Well,
Because when it gets
my way
bigger,
of
you're
thinking
gonna
on
have
this,
problems.
Mr. Bowe, is we're going to have government either way. We're going to have it here, or we're going to have it in this regional utility. Either way, you got government. My way of thinking is if you've got it all under one board, one utility, several counties, the cost is cheaper. I mean, the staff you have to hire, it covers regional, multiple counties. Whereas if we hire them, they're on our payroll, they only work for us. And if you don't need them all the time, what are you going to do with them?
Rent them out to another county.
Well, that's kind of the thought behind this.
At that time.
All right.
And I'll take it, Mr. Bowe. If I'm wrong, I'll take it. I promise you. I will admit if I'm wrong. I don't think I am, but I will admit.
I want y'all to know my concerns. I'm not for increasing the size of the government in any shape, form, or fashion.
I heard you, Mr. Bowe. Thank you.
Y'all just keep doing what you're doing.
We're trying.
Don't mess up, because I'll have to come back. And I'm not like Mr. Hanica, who hurt his back, by the way, and couldn't be here.
Sorry to hear that.
But, yeah, he'll come up here and he plays nicer than me, which is okay. Y'all need a break every once in a while. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Klepper.
Yes, sir. Getting on his coattail a little bit, when I read through this thing, because of what's already going on in government in general, not just this county, but petition for salary caps, my immediate response when I read this, oh boy, here we go again. Another full board, administrator, staff, no caps. So here we are, taxpayers burdened again with no caps on salaries. I plead with y'all, if y'all do orchestrate this, I see Commissioner White's plan. When I read through it, I agree with what Mr. Scott said, that it should be cheaper long term. It should be, if it's done right. But my goodness, if Mr. Bowe's points are valid, not to insult you guys, but it's just the way government usually operates. It gets out of hand, and taxpayer, and there are endless resources right here. 45,000 endless resources. The way government typically looks at this situation. I plead with y'all to be extra careful about setting precedents with this system. I hope it does work. I hope this guy could tell this guy I was right. I truly hope that.
I'd be two of us.
I see the potential benefit, but I also see that truly got me very concerned. One thing that I'd like to see, and I don't know all of it. I don't like you.
I don't know
you don't know
all
all of it. But what I'd like to see, if possible, and I know that everybody working for this county is already working for this county, and although I still, from the private sector, think that most county or government workers got a lot easier in the private sector, but I'd like to see it where if it could be set up utilizing consortium, whatever you call it, but the three counties use the staff, the board, you select Mr. Perkins is on that lady's employment agency's consortium. I assume there's no salary on that. I'm making an assumption. I'd like to see initially, until the regional utility becomes self-sustaining, that there is no additional. All right, we use not just Suwannee County to do it, but including the attorney. All right, we're gonna have to hire, if we don't use the one we got, which he's already involved in it anyway, and between the three counties' attorneys, I mean, that could be divided as well. Please just look at that too, instead of just jumping out there, because what Mr. Scott was saying, we're trying, and I could see it, saving a truck, saving an inspector, or whatever the case is. I see that, but that's minor when you're looking at a whole daggone board administrator and it's full staff, you know, and I apologize to all the staff and employees for requesting this, but again, it's divided 3 ways. And I'm sure it would take a little time to get that figured out, how to equitably split that up. But we're risking less that way, you know? If you get to the point, well, hey, this ain't going to get self-sustaining, all 3 counties just agree to drop out with that 180-day notice, you know? And I think it'll work. But anyway, I said enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moses.
Well, Mr. Scott, correct me if I'm wrong. What we've been discussing there is maintenance and operations to begin with. That's what we're going to be doing, maintenance and operations. We're still going to be doing our own billing, if I'm correct. So pretty much till we get our feet wet here, it's just maintenance and operations. It's not collecting the money. Each county still collects its own money. Now, going forward as it grows and things get better, or however the whole board decides to do it, at some point, yes, it will collect its own money and it will self-sustain from the money that's being collected. It will be the maintenance, everything that goes with it will be self-sustaining. We won't have to contribute any more money to it.
Mr. Chairman, if I may too, just one thing regarding what Mr. Klepper pointed out. All of the county commissioners serving on the board, none of them can take additional salary. So a surefire way to go to jail is by putting yourself on a board and then voting yourself on raise. So there'll only be one county commissioner salary.
Mr. Chairman, just a point for information. We will be going into this with baby steps. I have a meeting tomorrow with Mr. Kraus with Columbia County, talk about some particulars about how to get where we need to get to. We still have to figure out who all is doing our work for us. We got a lot of different departments within the county already doing work, not just our contractor. They've got to figure out what they're doing. This is going to be a systematic approach moving forward, but it's going to take time. There'll be nobody hired for quite a while. I mean, an administrator, I can't see that. I won't be here by then, probably. But it is a slow growth process. It'll happen. There's no way they have enough of customers, or we do, to jump in this thing and just hire everybody and take off. It'll be a slow process.
And the expenses is on a pro forma basis based on, you know, Columbia County is obviously bigger than we are. You know, their cost to operate is going to be more than Suwannee County's. But it'll all be prorated out based on the county size. So we're not going to be paying to run Columbia County's utilities. We're just going to be sharing contractors, people, tools, equipment, that kind of stuff to lower the cost. That's the main idea behind it. And apply for grants ×2. So that's my thoughts on it.
Mr. Fontana?
Yeah, I'll be very brief. Fontana, 211-81-144.
Speaking to the mic, please.
21181 144th Street. Just briefly, along the lines of the same thing with the interlocal agreement for the workforce consortium. One of the concerns I have is it is a separate entity, but if they apply for grants and they get those grants, what's the guarantee that some of those grant requirements don't trickle down into the county? Because with the county, when we apply for grants, we go through great pains to make sure that, hey, this isn't going to require us. And I'll bring up an example. Like, let's say there was some kind of and this speaks to this one, but it could apply to the other one too, because grants are involved. You're taking money from the federal government. It is bigger government. The more of these that you apply, the less control we have. So when let's say you had a grant for a workforce for healthcare workers or something like that, what's to stop the federal government from saying, hey, every one of your county employees needs to take a shot or something like that? That's my concern, is that the trickle down of those requirements, that we procedurally, although we go through the due diligence, and I've talked to Shannon, I don't know if he's here, he does go through the due diligence of making sure that we're okay from a county and that we can meet those requirements, but this separate entity, will they take care to do that, and will it get overlooked, and all of a sudden we're going to, mainly our county employees, probably not our citizens, but our county employees could be responsible for something, or the county could be responsible for something that's attached to that money that got missed. That's a concern I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Montana. Any other discussion on the board?
Mr. Chairman, just one question. I'm assuming the other boards are discussing this at some point in time. So we don't even know, they may have some great input as well, and some things that may, I think the idea of it's good, so.
And going forward, I'm sure this will get changed as it moves on, as different things happen. I'm sure it'll be amended.
Yeah.
And as we go along and figure out, well, we should have done this or we should have done that, I'm sure it'll get amended.
Well, it's kind of like what Mr. Moses said. We all understand the reason behind it. We're trying to be smarter with the people's money and make $1 go 3 times as far, twice as far. And again, Mr. Bowe, I'll say Transit Authority, a great thing. You showed where it was bad, and I can show you now where it's good, under good leadership, good board members, good administration. So, and it's just keeping accountability is what it is, and I appreciate you bringing that up. But that I'm not ready to squash it. I think there's something there that we need to see through and get more information.
I think it's absolutely worth trying.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Perkins.
I'm all for savings too, and to combine our utilities thing out, and seeing it's going to be a great savings to the county. And I've seen other counties already using this all throughout the state. So it's proven that it will work if we give it a try and we put, build all basically all the same footprint they are doing. I don't see it being a failure. So I think it'd be a great thing. I think that people will want to be able to save money and be beneficial to our county.
Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner Perkins. Anyone else? Or do I have a motion to approve this?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion by Commissioner White.
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Perkins. All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Number 11, additional agenda items. I don't believe there are any. Mr. Scott, no. Administrator's comments. Mr. Scott.
Yes, sir. First, I'm sure y'all were going to mention, I'll make sure that it was mentioned, last week the governor came into town to bring some change. We had a gathering out at Busy Bee for a press conference that he presented $2.2 million for the county for job growth grant. We appreciate that. So this for water and sewer projects out of the Catalyst site, and appreciate the staff and their efforts in doing the legwork to make that happen. But appreciate the governor and Department of Commerce, Alex Kelly coming out and making some nice comments. But it's a good day for Suwannee County.
Sure.
We talked before about the purchase of fuel. I told you we'd do some research and look around other counties around us. Just want to give a report on that. In Columbia County, they use a local vendor. They've been doing the same thing for 15 years plus. Gilchrist County, they've got the same vendor for years as well. Lafayette County, they have no fuel tanks, but they use local vendors to buy their fuel. Madison and Hamilton County get quotes from vendors when they need fuel, and usually it's between a half a cent or up to 7 cents a gallon is the most they've ever seen. Also, they've got surcharges that are charged sometimes for those loads also. The problem with that, I'll come back to that. What the vendor we use does is track our usage of when we need fuel. As we start needing fuel, he looks at the trends of the market, and then as the market is trending down, he'll put the order in. If it's trending up, he waits a few days and see if the trend goes back down to try to save us a few dollars there. By having somebody monitor that, looking at the market every day, tracking that, it saves us money. As opposed to other counties that get quotes, they get locked into a price. If it's trending up and they got to have it tomorrow, they're going to pay more when they think they're saving money. They're actually going to be paying more because they're just competing against the market for that moment, not letting the market dip back down before you make the order. So the service we get now from the provider it does a great job for us. They're always there if we have an issue. When we had an issue next door at the airport, the vendor went and did work for us that didn't charge us for because just that's what they do. We had to drain a tank at the bottom of the tank to get some repair work done, and they brought a tank out and helped us get it taken care of. My recommendation is to keep doing the same practice. We always monitor the prices anyway, but still, I think it's the right way to go. I think we save money overall that way, but the service will be much better keeping the same consistent vendor doing it that way. But letting the vendor help us save money is good for both of us. But be glad to answer any questions that anybody's got if anybody has any. I wanted to let you know the things are out to bid. We've got professional services for the wastewater treatment plant. All these notices are on the website. So if you've got anybody that's got any interest in any of these, please guide them to the website. We got, like I said, the professional services for engineering for the wastewater treatment plant, clearing and grubbing out of the catalyst site, timber harvesting at the catalyst site, garbage trucks. We've got the 76th Street CEI contractual basis with the engineering firm out to bid. The wastewater plant operation contract, we're trying to look into options on that. And then also litter pickup is out to bid also. We've had some past couple of weeks with really good meetings with DOT staff. We've been looking at the 129 corridor from north of Bisbee back into town, looking at trying to get their help with making improvements to landscaping, looking at just different aspects, making sure they know what projects we've got coming in, and make sure they're making adjustments in their design now. They should be going out to bid in the next, probably sometime, I'm guessing after July 1st for that project. But they're tweaking the plans for 129 from Live Oak North. We also met with a group of people with DOT about a new system that they modeled in Nassau County, where they're going to surveying the roads. They can virtually look at the roads, look at the condition, width, and rank every road, so we know whatever condition every road is in the state or in the county. The other thing that does for us, because it's done by video, we can capture what the condition and we maintain the roads. So if we have a storm come through, we get washouts or whatever, we can know what the condition was versus now after the washout and get reimbursed from FEMA sometimes. Yep. So this kind of gives us a threshold where we are, and we be bringing more information back to you later about cost and all the other benefits, but that's just an overview. The cool thing that was happening with that meeting was they reached out to us and other communities, but we're like a model for them to kind of go to help push the word out. Tomorrow I've got a meeting with the county managers, county administrators, county coordinators, and the likes from Dixie, Lafayette, Gilchrist, Levy, Hamilton, Madison, and Columbia counties, so that we can, as a group, look for ways to position with DOT to do more things. We want to be the model that everybody follows, and that's kind of the trend that's happening now. So I'm proud of that. So.
Before you leave that, I was on that Zoom meeting with FDOT and all of us when they talked about what Nassau County had done, and I would like to. I don't know if the money's in the budget this year, but I would like to
maybe you know, elaborate a little bit more at some point in the future with, like you said you were going to do with the other board members. So Nassau County hired a firm to come in and analyze their roads with dash cams, lasers, that type of stuff to determine, I guess, an objective approach, and rated the roads independently of which ones were in the worst condition, which took a lot of good data that was unbiased, and then they kind of ranked those roads for, I guess, for the board of Nassau County, which was a really good tool for them to go back to FDOT and say, hey, look at the data. These are the roads, and these are the issues. So, I mean, I thought that was a really good objective way to do it. And apparently FDOT did too, because they mentioned that in our Zoom meeting, that they really liked how they analyzed that and brought, you know, those roads and those conditions to them. So it comes with an expense, but I mean, it's not us out here subjectively lobbying for whatever road. It's data driven more so.
Less political.
Less political, more data. And I mean, you know,
I think it's a great thing.
You're going to lose, you know, there will be people that criticize that and say, no, ours is worse. But by doing it data driven, it's like we hired this firm and the data, Mr. Pittman, the data shows this road is in worse condition than that road.
So that's a useful leverage to get roads repaired.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I would assume they still, although they look at the road, they look at the traffic count.
Yeah, they look at the traffic count,
accident counts,
yes.
things of that. All
of
that's
that
inquired
data,
into. Yep.
Commerce, intertide,
Gotcha.
You know, corridor for other counties to use.
Right.
You know, all of that.
So everything's factored into
Yes,
it.
sir. Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
Anyway, go ahead, Mr. Scott. I just wanted to elaborate a little more on
I'm
that.
good unless you got any questions.
I'm about questioned out.
I'm about answered out.
Anybody got any questions, Mr. Scott? Board member inquiries, last item on the agenda. We'll start with, who did I start with last week?
You started down here last week.
All right, start over here. Commissioner Perkins.
Well, just grateful and had a great meeting tonight, and just want to thank all the citizens coming out, being here, showing their concern for us, and thank for all of our departments and all they're doing, and thank you, Ms. Mandy, for all that you do for us, and all departments. And also, we remember we got our fair here, support our fair, and also remember that next Friday, Good Friday, and then we have Easter here, so maybe the reason for the season. He's risen.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins.
Thank you for everybody for coming out. Thank you to the staff, and it's good to see Mr. Bart back. Glad to see you feeling better, buddy.
We saw Mr. Bart earlier this week at the fair on that Sporty Alice Chambers tractor he restored. And he looked like he was on the cat's meow. He was happy. Commissioner Hale.
Well, speaking of Mr. Bart, he come and sat with me last night to keep me and my wife straight out there at the fair. So, but yes.
Y'all probably needed that.
We probably did, yeah, we did. But no, it's great to see him back. And like I mentioned in the opening prayer, Lord, there's folks here in our community that we all know, and some that we don't know that needs to keep them in their thoughts and prayers. So we definitely want to lift those families up. Like everyone said, the fair, definitely come out and support our youth. It's not just here in Suwannee County, it's all our surrounding counties that make the fair a great success. And that's really all I got. I just appreciate the board member, appreciate all the folks coming and speaking and putting their thoughts into what we're doing, because whether you think it matters or not, it does matter. And we do appreciate it. So thank y'all.
Commissioner White.
I'm glad to see everybody come. I think it's great when people show up and participate in their government. Me and Mr. Bowe, we disagree on this one item, but don't mean I don't like Mr. Bowe and respect him. We just got a difference of opinion. But I do love to see everybody come. I think it's a great thing. That's all I got, Chairman.
He's a little challenged.
Mr. Bowe burnt you on that one. I didn't see that one coming. But Bowe did burn you on that one. Yeah.
I'll just say the same things that all the rest of the guys. Governor Santos was here, and Alex Kelly, Director of Florida Commerce. So we thank those guys for bringing a little over $2.2 million to Suwannee County, which will be really good. So we obviously much appreciative of that. Suwannee County Fairs this week.
There's activities every night out there. I think the gates open at 6 o'clock every night. So if you got time, take your family out to that. The fair board does a really, really good job, and they work really hard putting on a good fair.
Sales Friday.
So,
Mr. Chairman, you mentioned Senior Day today.
We'll go pay that. Yes, we were at Senior Day today.
That was good.
Lunch serving the senior citizens. So that was really good to see all those folks out there, and the CRAC folks were there as well. You know, I think that I hear the comments that sometimes maybe us five guys don't care enough, but I will argue that to my deathbed. I can tell you that if I didn't care, I wouldn't be up here taking the beating that I take every other Tuesday, it seems like sometimes. You know, we roll our sleeves up. All five of these guys, I bump into them at other constitutional officers. I bump into them here and there, and they're all doing work on their time to try to make this county better and study the facts, study the numbers, and try to help people. And I can assure you, if you divided the salary that Florida statute says that we're supposed to be paid based on population, you divide that by the hours that each one of these guys put in, you'd be less than $20 an hour on your pay. So I can guarantee you we don't do it for the paycheck, but we want to make this county better. All of us have family that have lived here and have gone on, and we all got family that's coming up that will still live here. So I take it personal when somebody tells me I don't care enough. So I'm gonna get off of that soapbox. I truly do care, and I want to see Suwannee County be as good or better than the way I found it.
Took that out of context.
Well, I jump on my soapbox as everybody's entitled to get on theirs when they come up there. I get mine at the end. So with that, all I need is a
So moved, sir.
Motion to adjourn by Commissioner Hale, second by Commissioner Molly. All in favor? Aye.
Heck.